How we doing, brother?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. Doing all right?
Yeah, no, looking forward to the weekend, that's for sure. It's been a crazy week at work, so
Yeah, I
yeah.
believe it. I believe it. You're trying
Uh
to get all the everything kind of lined up before July 4th and get everything kind of crunched in, right?
yeah, and it's been crazy around here, especially like end of fiscal year for Microsoft. So it's like people are just going nuts with
Yeah,
trying to get things in before their fiscal year ends. So the world
right.
of IT.
Well, very grateful for having you on. As many viewers hopefully know that you are my coach and that you're IFBB Pro and just overall just awesome dude. I don't know if I've preached about you enough to the people that do watch the cast, but I'm very grateful for you. But if you want to go, oh, hey Matt, how you doing, brother?
What's up,
Before
Matt?
I
How's
dip
it
you.
going?
Oh,
I feel like I'm always popping in like a minute late. My bad, guys.
we just started. You're all good.
I
I
second
was,
that. Brad's an awesome dude. Thanks for
yes,
Uh
coming on, dude.
I
yeah.
appreciate it, man. No, you guys are both awesome people as well, so glad to know both of you.
We're very grateful to have you on, man.
Yeah.
So, for anyone who doesn't know you, if you want to go ahead and kind of give us a general rundown of who you are and kind of, just kind of explain yourself and just kind of tell about who you are.
Oh man. Well, I guess where I start. Yeah, so like was mentioned, I'm Brad Killion. Shoot. Yeah, I got a married wife, three kids. I think you've had my son on here already once, Hunter.
Yes. Yep.
So
Hunter. Yep.
yeah, he's my oldest, and then Brody is my middle son, and then Ava's my daughter. She's my youngest. Um, yeah, originally from Southern Indiana, grew up there, went to high school there. We moved up to Indianapolis back in 2012.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been here in Fishers ever since then, and yeah, that's kind of who
So
I am. But in the IT
awesome.
world, like I mentioned earlier, work for CDW, so I'm an IT geek by trade. Uh, Kind of a weird combo being a meathead and an IT guy at the same time. I get
Right.
that
Yeah.
a
It's like
lot.
opposite, polar opposites in that
Yeah.
regard.
Yeah. They're like, you're what? You do IT? I'm like, yeah, I know. But so yeah, that's kind of my background.
Yeah,
So yeah.
most definitely. And then I want to go ahead and share here, and then we'll kind of discuss a little bit about how you got into bodybuilding. So Brad and I had met, for anyone who doesn't know on the cast, we had met back in 2021, or maybe it was 2020, one of those 2 years. I've been with Brad for 5 years now, going on six,
Hmm.
and we had met through GNC, believe it or not, through a buddy named Wade who worked with Brad at GNC for a small moment. And then kind of the rest is history there. We've been working together ever since, and Brad's done amazing with all of his clients that he's had. And it's been a lot of fun. But Brad, tell us a little bit about you and your bodybuilding career, getting to the pro level, but kind of like your journey to get to the pro level.
Yeah. So back in my early 20s, way back a long time ago. I actually got into bodybuilding when I finished college. I played a little bit of collegiate football at the time.
Mhm.
So I was used to training, working out, and then once I completed college and I was looking for kind of an avenue, right, to continue training and working out. And so I did that in my 20s, and all of a sudden I had a buddy that got into bodybuilding, right? And he was like, "Hey man," he's like, "You should maybe think about this. You have a pretty good physique and bigger guy." And so I started pursuing it. I think it was like 23, 24 years old.
Mhm.
Started pursuing bodybuilding, and at the time there was no classic physique, right? It was just all they had was open, right? So I spent probably 3 years trying to build a physique that I thought I could, take on stage and compete in the open class. And obviously being a taller guy, I'm 6'3". I needed to, put on quite a bit of mass to look like those shorter guys. So spent like three and a half years uh, putting on some good amount of mass, and then life happened. So, my son Hunter started my career. Got really busy with my career in IT. It started to take off. I was doing a lot of traveling. Then a few years later, had my next two children, and so yeah, bodybuilding kind of took a back seat. So I was still
Mhm.
working out, but not like seriously like I was, right? So And then, like I said, life happened, and before I know it, I was like 35, and I'm like, oh crap, like where did the time go? And so I got back into it about that time frame. Kids
Mhm.
were a little bit older, wasn't traveling as much for work, and so it just made a little more sense to get back into it. I could dedicate more time to it, and I was able to work. I was working from home, so I was able to, meal prep was a lot easier, right? Training was
Right.
easier, so yeah. So I started about 35, started to get back into it, and then about I think it was like when I hit 30. Well, take a step back. So at that point in time, I was like, okay, I need to build my physique back because I had lost quite a
Mhm.
bit of muscle, and so I really needed to spend some time to get bigger. And so I did that for a few years, and then about 38, I was like, okay, I need to do this now, or it's not going to happen. Right? I'm getting older, so um, decided to hire a coach.
Mhm.
Um, Went through a growth phase, and then jumped into the prep the following year, and did my first show in Wisconsin. Um, and it was Shredded Cheddar Productions was the promoter, and I did that my first show there. I ended up getting an overall. It was during COVID though, so you know, take it for what it's worth. It was
Still an
right after
overall,
COVID.
brother. If I say
Yeah,
still an overall win, we'll take
it
it.
it wasn't the best competition. I think it was like 15 guys total, and out of all the classic divisions, and
Oh wow.
and I
Okay.
think there was like 5 people in my class, and
Yeah.
but yeah, I'll take it. And I was happy with it, but I think I knew after winning that overall, I still had a lot of work to do, right, to get better. So I spent another year, um, growing, and then I think in 2021, that's when I met you, or right before that,
Yeah.
decided to plan on doing the Mr. Indiana show,
Mhm.
and I was going to go to North Americans to try to get my pro card. So did two more shows, ended up getting my pro card at North Americans in 2021. Way too fast. Definitely didn't need to be a pro at the time. But I did get my pro card, and spent, you know, another 3 years before I even tried to, prep for a pro show, right? Because
Yeah.
now I'm at the very bottom of the totem pole, right? No business competing with the pros at that time. So I spent a good 3 years before I even decided to prep for a pro show. So
Yeah. This is pretty
yeah.
impressive stuff here. I'm kind
I
of just
wanna
clicking on the page.
I wanna
Yeah,
interject real
Matt's
quick
Matt
because
knows
like
those dumbbells.
I remember because we
Yeah.
met at Marcus's gym back in
Yes.
2020, and I remember that when I saw it, I want to say this is so funny that I remember it so clear, but I want to say you were doing like hanging leg raises, and the gym was so damn hot because there was no
Oh,
AC, and it was the only
yeah.
gym open because of all the COVID restrictions. And I
Yep.
remember you were like peeled. I was like, who the hell is this big monster, dude? So I remember you getting ready for that show, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that's where we ended up meeting actually. So
Yeah.
you look great for that show. I will say,
I
humble
appreciate
fun.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was for a first show, I was pretty happy with the look. Obviously I needed a ton more muscle to even compete, at the next level. But yeah, it was the first good show. I was happy with the look. That prep took forever because of COVID. Shows kept getting shut down and pushed out.
Yeah.
And so before I know it, my prep ended up being like almost 7 months long.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that sounded
Yeah.
brutal.
So yeah. And then couldn't find beef, couldn't find rice. It was
Yeah.
terrible. And then of course
Oh
all
yeah.
the gyms shut down. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I ended up in a barn, and it's called the Power Barn. And it's in yeah.
Elwood. Yeah, Elwood.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah,
Elwood.
we were talking
Yeah.
about that the other day. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like, "Hey man, come out." He's like, "We'll just keep it on the down low." And so I was working out there, and then he got shut down because a neighbor complained. And then luckily my uncle lived in Zionsville, and there was a neighborhood gym, and the guy's like, "Yeah, come on out. I'm going to leave the lights off. You can come into the back door." So I finished my prep in a gym, no lights on.
Right. Which is kind of cool and like like kind of a dungeon vibe, So it's kind of a good little I don't know, full
Yeah.
circle in that regard, kind of
Yeah.
building it up. So oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome, man. And then you won the Indiana, went on, got the pro card like you were mentioning, and then
Hmm.
your pro debut is quite the one that I remember really well here at the Linda Murray Atlanta Pro. Tell us a little bit about that experience and what that show meant to you.
Yeah, prior to that, I was going to do my debut in 2023. So I was looking at the Puerto Rico Pro and then the Albuquerque Pro in New Mexico. And I got about 4 weeks out. Conditioning wasn't quite there yet. It's kind of weird because I took such a long time off.
Mm.
I think me and my coach just, we just didn't time it, I think, correctly. And so I ended up dropping out. And then at that time, when I dropped out, I was like, you know what? I've been with the same coach for a while, and obviously he helped me turn pro, and we had
Mm.
talked quite a bit, but I kind of wanted to see what kind of that next level coach, right?
Yeah.
So I actually ended up, hiring Cameron Cheek, and because I've been following him for years, and he's coached some absolute monsters, and what I could just tell he was very data driven and just an amazing coach, right? And so that's why
Yeah.
I wanted. I want someone just that just was on their stuff, right? And
Yeah.
obviously he's blown up since then as well. But
Hmm.
yeah, so that was gonna be my original prep, our original debut. That got delayed, obviously, and so when I hired Cameron, we talked about it, and we were going to do a show later in the fall. But then I decided, you know what? After seeing what my physique looked like, um, I could see where I needed some more growth in some places, especially the legs and just different areas like that. So I said, you know what? Let's hold off. Let's do a show next year. And I wanted to go through a full growth phase with him. So that's what we did. We went through a full growth phase with him. Got to the probably the biggest leanest I'd ever been in a off season format.
Hmm.
And then then we started prepping for in 2024 for actually the Indy Pro.
Oh
Um,
wow.
but the first prep, and that was their um, first
First
time
crack
having
at it. Right.
first crack at a pro show. So jumped in, was going to do that show. And then, Cameron worked with me the first time. I think I could have done the Indy Pro, but I wanted to be absolutely peeled, like inside out for my first pro show,
Yeah.
because that's one thing you can control, right? Is conditioning. So I just didn't want to. I didn't want to come in less than that. I want to be
100%. Yeah.
inside out. So I was like, you know what, Cameron, let's just push off to another show, and that's when I chose Atlanta Pro. So
Nice.
yeah, it was a good, really good prep. Like I said, Cameron's an amazing coach. I think I had more refeeds during a uh, prep than I ever had before. It was amazing. But yeah, it was an easy prep, honestly. And so I was excited with the package we brought to the Atlanta Pro. Yeah, obviously there were still areas I could have been better, absolutely. But I was really happy with my pro debut.
Yeah, I'd say that
When
this pro debut was killer, man. I mean, the
yeah.
conditioning, the muscle bellies that are full, like everything, man. It's just truly a pretty phenomenal package, that you guys put together.
Yeah, unfortunately, they had some terrible lighting there,
Yeah.
and the background was not the best either. So like, it's funny, like most of the conditioning didn't even show through with like the lighting and the pictures and stuff. So
Hmm.
I was pretty bummed about that because like the feedback I got from the judge, it was Bill.
Hmm.
Um, Bill said he's like, hey, bring that same conditioning every time. He's like, you were peeled, right? So I was
Yeah.
happy with that. When I heard that, I was like, sweet, I made the right decision, holding off for the Atlanta Pro. Um, but yeah, it was a great first show. I decided to jump into they had a Masters option, so I jumped in the Masters 40. I won that. There were some really good guys that also competed in the Open as well, same as I did. So I won the Masters Pro show, which qualified me for the Masters Olympia, and then I did the Open class as well, and I ended up finishing seventh. So I got a top 10 there, and there were some really good guys there. So I was pretty happy. A couple guys that were Olympians a while back that I actually beat out. So I was
Nice.
couldn't be happier than that, right? To beat some good
Yeah,
guys and finish in the top 10 with seventh place. So
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, this was a stellar package, and I don't know. You and I were kind of joking at the Indie Pro, joking, not joking. I say not joking,
Mhm.
but we were kind of just going back and forth about the Masters Classic. That I still think you could do pretty well in the Masters Classic. You decided to,
Uh,
but uh,
yeah.
yeah, that's a
Yeah, I think
killer.
I think after that show, I was pretty excited to improve some more and got
Mhm.
some good feedback from the head judge, Bill, and he said, yeah, bring a little more lower lats. And I was like, what about legs? He's like, yeah, everybody can always use more legs. And I was like, then I thought about you. I'm like, well, besides Isaiah, he doesn't need more legs, but
Yeah, with the you
but
say that I walk in and I look at a leg press, they grow. So
yeah. So we spent another really good off season growing, and then again achieved even bigger, leaner physique that off season I had before. And I was pretty happy about jumping into 2025, and we were going to do the Indy Pro this time again,
Mhm.
and make it right. And that was going to be my last. I told Cameron, I was like, hey, this is going to be my last show. I'll be 44, and I want to retire before I'm 45. Um, just because I knew I was getting close to my limits, and
Mhm.
it's hard to keep with those younger guys like you guys. It's you guys can just do things that I can't do anymore. And so I was like, I'm gonna do one more show. I made some really good improvements, and then unfortunately I tore my bicep in February, so that cut the prep short, and decided at that point just to call it a career. So
Yeah. And then
yeah.
as far as bodybuilding goes, that's where we've called it. But you've since ventured off into arm wrestling, and you've kind of taken that by storm. Tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so believe it or not, and don't it sounds really stupid, but I started that prep for 2025, that bodybuilding show, for the Indy Pro. I started the prep in February, and then 2 weeks later, a couple of guys I know that from the gym that arm wrestle, including Tyler there, they're like, man, you should come out and arm wrestle. Like the number 4 guy in North America is going to be at the practice. And I had gone to some of their practices prior to that, the last off season before prep started.
Right.
And I came in and I actually beat a bunch of pros right off the bat, and didn't really have any technique or form. And they were like, dude, like you're crazy. Like you should keep coming back. So then they were like, hey, this number 4 guy, the North America is going to be there. You should arm wrestle him. And I was like, okay, sure, why not? It's early in prep,
Yeah.
right? I'm still like, I'm still like,
Healthy
you know,
together,
bigger.
joints are still lubricated, all the things.
Yes, exactly. I was still probably like 294, I think, at the time when we started prep. So I was still way up there, right? So I was like, okay, why not? So I go out
Yeah.
there, and I get on the table with this guy, and I start pulling him. I pull him. And I start pulling him like I'm actually about to pin him, and then we kind of let back up and start over again. And I yank on him again. I start going my way with him, and then all of a sudden
Mhm.
I feel something pull from my
Oh,
shoulder, and I see my bicep drop. And
oh
I'm like,
no.
I go, oh crap. And Tyler, who was arm wrestling there, he saw it too. He was standing next to me.
Yeah.
He goes, oh my God. He goes, stop. I said, yeah, trust me, I'm gonna stop.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So
Man.
the funny thing about that is I tore my bicep. Pretty sure I knew it was torn as soon as it happened. And then, but I had this constant pain in my shoulder at the time,
Hmm.
that I think, just working out, I always had this, you know, it was like an ache right in my shoulder.
Yeah.
And it was something I could work through. I could work out, had no problems working out. But I always could tell it was there, it's nagging pain. The funny thing is, as soon as I tore that, oh, this guy right here, stay right here.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about him. But as soon as it tore it, the pain went away in my shoulder. Like it instantly went away. So I think I had a tendon, that proximal tendon that connects up in the shoulder. I think it
Hmm.
was already damaged, right?
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
already, yeah. So it was
That's tough.
compromised. But
Man, that's really tough.
yeah, so this
So
guy,
in a way, in an odd way, obviously, and it's
yeah,
is take it for what it is, but it's almost as if arm wrestling like said like, hey, this is really like this is becoming now versus bodybuilding, doing another prep. It was like, no, we're gonna start arm wrestling now because as soon as that bicep, like you mentioned, you retired from bodybuilding and
yeah,
then opened the door now, obviously with your training to now arm wrestling. So
yeah.
and then this was being your first competition, wasn't it? Right here.
It was, yeah. So it was funny, I tore my arm wrestling, and stupid me says, "Hey, let's keep doing it," right? So retired from bodybuilding, never tore anything my whole career, and
Mm.
but it was funny after I tore it, it kind of motivated me. I wanted to come back and like, because I was like, I said I gave that guy who's 4th in North America
Yeah.
a run for his money, right? And he was super strong, right? And so I
Hmm.
was like, okay, maybe I can do this. So I said, I'm gonna recover. I had surgery, or when I recovered from it, slowly worked my way back up, and my right arm actually feels more stable now than what it did when I tore it.
Wow.
So yeah, because the orthopedic surgeon did a great job, and
Awesome.
um, but yeah, the only cool thing about it was I got more bicep peak from the tear. I'm like,
From the
man, I need to
tear.
tear I need to tear the other one so it looks the same.
Get them equaled out.
High risk, high
Yeah,
reward.
I know. I was like, because what happened was the tendon was because it was already compromised. They actually had to cut off the tendon shorter, and then they reconnected it lower on the shoulder.
Mhm.
So because there's less there, it just goes up now versus it's not elongated as much.
Yeah.
So it created kind of a shorter muscle belly for me. So now the bicep just goes straight up. So I have this crazy peak. It almost reminds me of like of course I'm not as big as Ronnie Coleman, but the peak
Like a
kind of
Ronnie
looks,
Coleman type of
yeah,
peak. Yeah.
yeah. He had those crazy peaks, this little bubble thing. It's like
Yeah.
so
That's
now
cool.
I have that in my right arm. So I was like, cool. But
Nice. And then as far
yeah,
as arm wrestling goes, how long do you think that you might want to continue arm wrestling? And do you think that this could be something that you do go to try to venture get that pro card in that? Or I don't know if it's
yeah.
card, I
So
guess. I just automatically assume it because of pro
just
card, but I'm not too sure.
yeah. No, so yeah, when I got back into it after the injury, things started ramping up a lot more a lot more quickly. And um, I had to one thing I did quickly realize that maybe it's just my age or whatever, but I knew that I had to cut back my volume, my bodybuilding workout, my training for bodybuilding. I had to cut that way back because
Hmm.
recovery from arm wrestling is a totally different animal. Like literally, like you're talking about recovering connective tissue, right?
Yes.
Tendons. They don't have a lot of blood flow in the first place, so tendons take a lot longer than muscles do to recover. Like literally, like I can recover from a intense leg workout in 3 days, be able to do it again, right?
Right.
With arm wrestling, if I go full blast arm wrestling at practice,
Yeah.
literally it could take me up to 2 weeks to be able to do that again to get the
Wow.
tendons. Yeah. So it's a different world. I remember the first practice I had, I was walking, I couldn't even go to the gym and lift up a 20-pound dumbbell because my arms hurt so bad. Like the
Wow.
elbows and joints, they were on fire. So
Yeah.
those tendons take a lot longer to recover.
Mm.
But yeah, it's been fun. I actually started, taking it more serious. I have two arm wrestling tables in my basement. I have a cable stack attached to the table. So now I
Nice.
can do like arm wrestling, like lifting movements, and
Hmm.
that's John here in this video. He actually is part of our team, and yeah, I practice with him all the time. He actually is the one that got me started in
Oh,
it.
wow.
Yeah, so John's a great guy. He goes to MEI, like where I go to, and he's been trying to get me to arm wrestle for probably as long as I've known you, Isaiah. It's probably been
Oh,
four
okay.
years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that I've known him for quite a while. Ever since I switched to that gym.
Nice.
So, but yeah, so
And
this guy with the hat backwards.
hmm.
Let me tell you a little story about him. So he's the guy I actually faced in the championship round for right arm. This guy that morning before the competition was out there doing concrete work. Like this guy is like
Wow.
just super strong. Just like
Yeah.
he doesn't really have that great of a technique. Like he's new to it, you can tell.
Hmm.
And he was just flash pinning everybody, every super because we're all super heavyweight.
Yeah.
He was just literally like
Just boom, boom. No
yeah,
problem.
and all arm, no body. Because like people think arm wrestling is just all arm. It's not. So like when
Right.
you're arm wrestling, your body kind of moves with your arm.
Yeah.
And
You
as you
kind
can
of see
see
that here
here,
with your technique. Like you're using
yeah,
that body as leverage in that way, right?
yeah, because you don't want your arm to get outside of your body. If it does, you can get a spiral fracture in your humerus. So
Gotcha.
it's very common. So you always keep your arm with your body as you're moving.
Gotcha.
But he was just doing this
Just going
and
bam,
just and
nonstop,
just
just out pinning
yeah.
dudes.
I was
Man,
like,
that's
who is
badass.
this guy? And I was like, this guy's crazy. So I definitely felt his strength right off the start. But once I took his hand, and that's where I think he was weak at was his hand and wrist. He
Yeah.
had a crazy side pressure. I took his hand, and then I was able to just, as you can see, I just took him down. But
Yeah.
super strong dude, just naturally. But
Yeah.
so
That's
yeah, it
pretty
was my first
wild.
competition. Took gold. Took first and left and right. I was pretty happy with that. There was about 15 guys in our super heavyweight class. Um, and pretty much I would say 1 through 8 were
Hmm.
guys that were pretty solid guys, right? Guys that have been doing it for a while and a lot
Nice.
longer than I have. So I was pretty happy with the win for sure.
Yeah,
So,
most definitely. Congratulations on the win. I know I've told you before, but that's it's quite awesome. Like I said, it's awesome to kind of see the transition and the passion that was in bodybuilding now transition to arm wrestling and kind of like starting
Yeah.
that process over again and going from amateur to eventually, hopefully pro, so that'd
Yeah.
be quite
It's
awesome.
it's it's a different it's definitely it's funny because the training is so much different, right? I literally
Mhm.
when you think about bodybuilding, you're training through the full range of motion, right? It's that full ROM, right?
Yeah.
And with arm wrestling, a lot of my movements, I'm like if I'm doing like it's called posting, I'm literally
Mhm.
doing this. Just working the tendon. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
tender right
Yeah.
there.
It's all I'm doing, right? Or I'm just doing some cupping. I'm just doing
Yeah.
this.
The training is just like very, very unique to the sport,
Yeah.
right? So that's
Yeah,
wild.
there is some movement. There is some full range of motion like movements we do just to work like the brachioradialis and and a lot of you think about a pec deck, right? This is
Yeah.
kind of like an arm wrestling movement, right? So we're doing a lot of this
Hmm.
as well. So but yeah, a lot of pulling, obviously, back day is my most important day now, right? Versus,
Yeah.
leg day.
Right. Yeah. It's like a totally different world in that regard. So
Yeah.
that's quite awesome.
Cool
Um,
thing is the sport is you see guys that are doing it that at a high level. Like there's guys that are literally 60 years old that are world champions
oh my
in
gosh.
in this sport. So like it's funny how you hear about old man strength, but
Yeah.
it's so true with arm wrestling because like those tendons, like those guys have been doing it for so long, the tendons start to adapt to that type of tension and that
Yeah.
type of pressure.
Right.
It's like they have like steel cables now as tendons. So it's like you
Yeah.
you grip up with a guy that's been doing it for 25 years, it doesn't feel normal. It feels weird. It's like,
Yeah. It's
what is
like,
this?
what the heck's
What's
going
this
on?
guy made of? Like,
And that's well, I guess in that same vein, in that same regard, like you were saying, you typically would wait like that week to 2 weeks before you would start training again, like in the sense of just how sore the arms are. For someone like that, is that process a little bit, goes that quicker, since you're so conditioned to it? Or do you think that it's still like a 2 week period that you're typically like pretty sore?
yeah, no. So it's definitely I've seen where my body is starting to adapt to that type of training and so forth. So
Mhm.
it's definitely sped up. Like we had a
Yeah.
hard practice last weekend. I think by day three, I felt like okay, I'm starting to feel normal again,
Good.
right? So
Good.
so yeah,
Nice.
it's definitely your body, obviously like anything, it starts to adapt to things and different tensions and pressures and so forth. And it seems like it starts to, oh, we've been here before. I know how to do, I know how to do this, right? And
Yeah.
so I've been very cognizant on like blood flow work. We do what's called blood flow work. So we'll like similar arm wrestling movements like pronation, supination, cupping, things like that.
Hmm.
I'll go down to my table on a cable stack, literally load up like 5 pounds on the cable stack
Right.
and just do this for 100 reps, right? Or
Yeah. Just
this for
condition the
100
heck
for
out of
100
it.
reps.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you just want to drive blood flow into those tendons, and that's
Mhm.
really the only way you can do it, right? So,
Right.
and
Nice.
I'm practically living off of BPC 157,
I was
TB
about to ask
500.
you as well. That's got to be in the stack, right?
Oh yeah, it's a lifesaver for sure. But
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Well, that's awesome, man. And then
yeah.
obviously coaching wise, you and I obviously work together and that's not changing, where we've been crushing it. And that was a lot of fun for our show with Hoosier Flex. But tell me a little bit about your coaching background altogether, kind of stemming back to that GNC time frame.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, I didn't ever intend to get into coaching. Like, I didn't. I had no desire to coach. When I started getting back into bodybuilding, started grow my physique and
Mhm.
improve, my physique prior to getting into competitive competition. Um, I actually
Interesting.
had a, I actually had a guy that came up to me in the gym at the time as a LA Fitness, and he was actually a former collegiate hockey player, and he was tall. He was like 6'4", so a little taller than me. Look at
Yeah.
that stud. Um,
The
but
small fry guy right there. We've grown him quite a bit, haven't we?
yes, we have. Um, but yeah, he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, man," he's like, "Cause I'm taller too, being 6'3", and he's a little taller than me." He was like, "You've grown your physique. You look great." He's like, "Obviously, you know what you're doing." I'm like, maybe," but he was like, I really would." He had a hard time putting on some size, and he was done with hockey and just wanted to get bigger, and so I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Could you coach me?" And I was like, "Well." It's like I really wasn't going to get into any. I don't really coach, but he's like, well, I'll pay you for it. I'm like, well, sure. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But
Mm,
I wasn't really sure if I wanted to or not. And he kind of talked me into it. After a couple weeks, he kept coming back and asking me if I'd coach him. And finally I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And I'm one of those guys that whenever I do something, I need to know why I'm doing these things, right? I need to
yeah.
learn like what, when I started in bodybuilding or back into it. And, I wanted to understand the ins and outs of everything, right? The science behind it, the nutrition, the training. I
Hmm.
followed a lot of John Jewett right off the bat, John Jewett and Luke Miller, their podcast they did, and I just soaked up all the information I could, and I actually did the J3 University as well, and phenomenal information, right? So I
Hmm.
soaked up as much as I could, I learned as much as I could, and then just following along other great coaches, right, that are out there, and so I really was able to learn a lot, but never applied it to a coaching scenario, right? It was just for me to know why I'm doing things, right?
Right.
So he was the first guy that I actually was able to apply it to and learn. I learned a lot working with him for probably almost 2 years. And we put on a bunch of size. I think I got him. He was like 200 and like 10 pounds, right? 6'4", 210.
Hmm.
And I think when I was done with him, he got up to like 255 to almost 260.
Yeah, solid mass.
Yeah, and kept a lot of the same conditioning as well. So he was a hard worker, man. This guy, he reminded me of, well, you and some other guys that I work with, and just a tough, yeah, he had a solid work ethic. So,
Nice.
but
Heck yeah, and
so
that's kind
yeah,
of what started the coach in there.
it did. And then once I started competing, um, then my son Hunter, he approached me. He was still in college at the time. He's like, "Hey, I want to do my first show," and he's like, "Will you coach me?" I'm like, "Sure." So he was actually my first. He was my first person to actually coach through a prep.
Yeah.
Um, and that was in 2021 when I also got my pro card, right? So I coached him through a
Nice.
prep. We actually were on the same stage for Mr. Indiana when I won Mr. Indiana that year. He actually prepped him. He did men's physique for
Yes.
his first
Yeah.
show, and he ended up getting like second place in open, and he won his novice class, and so he had a great first showing. So he was my first guy I took through prep. So I learned a lot for that, during that process with him.
Hmm.
And, just helped me kind of, it just gave me a lot more just feedback and data because I'm a data driven
Definitely.
guy. So as
Mhm.
you know, with all the spreadsheets,
That I got the access to. Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah. We'll be
yeah.
reviewing it.
So I'm a data driven guy, so it helped provide me a lot of data that I could take to other people, right? And
Yeah,
obviously everyone's different, but it was a good learning experience, right? And I met
definitely.
you. So
Nice. And then from there, I'll go ahead and pull up our first prep
yeah.
there. That's kind of what I had there. So this was our first showing that we did in back in 21. And is this your second prep then that we did? The second prep that you had an athlete get on stage was me right here.
Yeah. Yeah, you were my
Nice.
second prep. Yeah. Yeah. So
That was a lot
it
of fun.
was
That was a good
it
time.
was it was it was it was pretty cool because I think obviously from day one I saw, just the potential you had right off the
Yeah.
bat. And so I was pretty excited when we started working and we got uh the package we brought for our first show. Like,
Yeah.
it was very respectable, right, for your first showing. And yeah, it was pretty cool. But
Yeah,
And I,
that's
and I said I
a
just
lot of
just
fun.
came off the pro card too, so I was already excited about that, and then be able to see you, reach, the package you brought to stage and what you were able to accomplish your first show. I was pretty excited about that as well. So,
Well, I'll say from the athlete standpoint and being a client of yours that this was truly, like I said, the one of the best decisions I've made in life in general was hiring you as a coach. That obviously turned into a friendship that we've built. And going from each show, we learn something each show. That's something that
yeah,
I've always kind of taken away and that I've said to many people is that you learn so much about yourself, but you learn so much about others in the process of the show prep and everything. And through that whole process, getting to know you and obviously doing multiple shows now, it's been truly an honor and a pleasure to be your client, man. So
I
in that
appreciate
regard,
that.
I'm
Yeah,
very grateful for you. And then going from kind of comparing in the sense of Hunter's first prep to because now you get guys on stage like routinely, no problem, not even breaking a sweat. Like most recently, you had Donnie be getting on stage here at the Indie Pro, and then you also had Is this
Paul.
Paul? Paul, yes,
Yeah,
Paul on
yeah,
stage as well at the Indy Pro, who both
yeah.
had phenomenal package and a great showing. Kind of give us the contrast between that being like this show process versus that first prep, and just how much the process has changed for you and how much you've learned a little bit over the years.
Yeah, no, I think each prep that you do, I think you learn so much, right? And especially as you coach more guys, right? Because everyone's different, right? And how they respond to different changes is going to be different from one person to the next, right?
Hmm.
And I can tell you a little bit of background between Don and it's funny because I had Don and Paul, they both did the same show, right?
Yeah,
So same timeline, similar timelines, but totally different preps, like
yeah,
totally different. It was crazy how much different they were, right? But Don's a shorter guy. I think he's about your height, Isaiah. I think maybe a little
yeah.
taller. I think he's like five. I
Five
think
seven, 5'8". I think he's like
yeah,
5'8" or
yeah,
so. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's
Whenever I
5'8".
met him.
I think he measured in at 5'8" at the show. So yeah.
Okay.
And then Paul is like almost my height. I think he's like 6'2", right? Or 6'2" and a half. So
Mhm.
totally different physiques. Don being a first time competitor, Paul, he's done multiple shows. Um, but yeah, it was this prep. But yeah, like I was saying, the more preps I've done, the more I've learned. It really helped me for the next preps, right? It's just a lot of information, a lot of data I was able to collect, and
Yeah.
the more guys you coach, and you see kind of differences in how prep goes for different guys.
What's up, guys? It's Isaiah here with AnomalyX. Please go ahead and drop a like, comment, subscribe on the video. I greatly appreciate it, as well as share with your friends and family as we're trying to grow the Keep Working podcast. But I wanted to get on here and show you guys a couple of the awesome products they have here at AnomalyX now that I'm partnered with them, where you can use code Isaiah at checkout to save on some great products. So, first and foremost, they have the EAAs. These are great for intra workout as well as just trying to stay hydrated on a hot summer day, which, as you guys know, here in Indiana, it gets pretty toasty during the summer. We have pump products where if you don't want to use that caffeine, you want to kind of keep it a very clean, great pre-workout to use. Pump is fantastic, as well as the pre-workout they have here, both in Rocket Pop flavor. The flavor is phenomenal. Pre-workout has about 300 milligrams of caffeine in it, and it really sparks ignition really for you to get going during your training days, as well as recovery with the creatine monohydrate, a very clean, clinically based formula for you and your gains. Again, code Isaiah at checkout can save you money. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. And thank you again so much for watching the Keep Working podcast. Now let's get you back to the video.
It's just yeah, just more ammo, right? More tools in your tool belt, right? So
Definitely.
when I was coaching Don and Paul this year, Paul being a seasoned competitor, Don being a first time competitor, it was crazy how much quicker Don got lean in earlier in the prep, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like Paul, it took a longer time. But then again, Paul's older, right? He's 52,
Mhm.
whereas Don's about my age. He's 44.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's two different physiques. Don got and funny thing is those traditional fat cutters we use,
Yeah.
in most bodybuilding preps, Don had adverse reactions to every one of them. Couldn't use any of
Wow.
them,
Mm.
not one.
Wow.
And so we were like, hey, let's look at peptides. So I
Hmm.
actually with Dawn, I actually use Retta in small dosages, and I use MOTS-C. So
Nice.
that's only two other than thyroid. So thyroid is something we use with him too. But it was so ironic, or it was so funny how like I said, I had to actually really think about another strategy with Don, right, to make
Yeah.
sure we were able to bring in a really good first package for him, and he got absolutely shredded just early. So I actually was giving him a lot of food
Mhm.
going into the show. Like we had multiple refeeds, and he was getting more food than Paul was, right? Throughout the entire prep. Like we had
Which is
multiple
kind of crazy with
refeeds.
Paul being
Yep.
like the taller guy, and Don being like the shorter, you would think that it'd be the
Yep.
other way around. So, especially
Yeah.
and Paul being older as well. So, yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. So the funny thing about Paul is the last prep we had we had probably there was many points in the prep where the fatigue, the overall fatigue, diet fatigue, training fatigue, cardio fatigue, all these things, it would actually build up pretty quickly. So I would, we'd have either a diet break or, like a refeed or whatever, or we'd
Mhm.
have, we would reduce cardio for maybe a few days or, for a while just to let his body kind of recover. And he would drop a bunch of inflammation right off the bat. He'd hit a new low, right? When I do things like that.
Yeah.
This prep, we went probably 14 weeks without one refeed, right?
Wow.
And cardio stayed in. There was no breaks from cardio or no breaks from, no diet breaks like I mentioned, until like probably about 6 weeks out, right?
Mhm.
And then we had his first like refeed because he was starting to show signs of fatigue and things like that. And I could tell his body was kind of holding on to some water and his weight stopped dropping. And so I was like, okay, let's just do a diet break. And then his weight would drop like 5 pounds that week, right?
Right.
And so yeah, but it wasn't until peak week with Dawn that I think I pulled out cardio pretty early with Dawn. I think maybe it was like 2 weeks out, and he still had a step count, but his food was just as high as Paul at a shorter, lighter weight. I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's literally it was a 40-pound difference between the two,
That's
right?
wild.
So he had way more food than Paul going into peak week. And then with Paul, what's so funny about Paul, and I knew this because last year during peak week, same thing happened. Once we pulled cardio out and started reducing his steps, this inflammation, he flushed all this inflammation, right? And especially when I started feeding him up like earlier in
Hmm.
the week, just a little more food, right? It wasn't like really full on like carb up at that point, just a little more food, right?
Right.
His weight would he hit a new prep low like every day during peak week.
Wow.
Same thing happened this week with him, but it was even more so. It was crazy. He was dropping like a pound a day
Wow.
going into
That's
because
a pretty
he
crazy.
was just flushing so much
Yeah.
inflammation,
Body was just
right?
churning away and just absolutely just
He
churning like a furnace.
It honestly, it's funny, and I wasn't worried this year because last year, about a week out, I was like, man, I was like, he should have more lines in his leg. Those lines should be deeper, because he's shredded everywhere else, right? As soon as
Hmm.
that inflammation came off his legs, all of a sudden he saw these lines in his legs last year, right?
Yeah.
This year, his legs were a lot sharper early on, so I was like, oh crap! Like when we start pulling
Yeah.
cardio out,
Pull back a little bit.
low, lowering step count, adding food in, like he's going to be like his legs are going to be like the best they've ever looked. And sure enough, we hit Thursday morning. He woke up after a bigger carb up on Wednesday, and his card had been pulled for 7. I think it was like 7 or 8 days out. And then as soon as I reduced his step count and gave him more food, he woke
Hmm.
up Thursday morning. I was like, oh crap, there it is. I mean,
Yeah. There it is.
he had lines in his legs that he didn't have last year at all. And
Yeah.
and then by Friday, as was every meal on Friday, he would drop like another, you know, point 0.3, point 0.4 pounds.
Yeah.
And he hit a new low actually Friday evening after feeding
That's
him all day.
something else.
Yeah. I was like, dude, you're insane. Like, I've never
Yeah.
seen anybody
That's
like you
wicked.
before. I probably fed him probably 1,600 grams of carbs in 2 days,
Wow.
and his body just kept
Just
dropping.
kept going. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just kept on
yeah.
working.
I had to throw so I was giving him like 40 grams of almond butter per meal just to so it'd stick,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, dude, like I gotta get this to stick, right?
Tell
So
me
I just
what
gave him
that's
more
like,
fats.
man. Tell me what that's like. I'm about to say I only got the like the 10 or 20 maybe at most, man.
Yeah.
Gee. But
Yeah,
no,
you
that's
did that. Yeah, you did that. This, Hoosier Flex. I think
yeah.
it was like, it was a 2 days out. I think it was Friday. You
Hmm.
started doing that. Yeah, we had to start feeding you up more and
Yeah, started
adding
feeding, and
more
then we were
fats.
even churning away backstage too. So,
Yeah,
it's
that's
been
true.
kind of the formula. And funny enough, I didn't get a chance to tell you at the Indie Pro, that was the same way for my clients. So whatever you had been teaching me, I learned from you, obviously over the
Mm,
years. So
yeah,
it was working well for Isaac at the In Natural show. I gave him a ton of carbs and he was just burning through. I checked his weight. He'd drop a pound on me and I was like, man, this is kind of giving me flashbacks,
yeah,
what you and I were
yeah.
going through. So, but no,
It's yeah.
that's, oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just saying it's funny how everyone's like Paul didn't. Paul actually is funny. I actually gave him less food, right? He
Yeah.
was the one that was always like dropping, and early on and got leaner a lot earlier in the process. And so it's funny with Paul, like he during peak week, once I took him off cardio and the step count came down, his
Mm,
body just held on. It was like holding on to everything. So like
yeah,
I didn't have to give him as much food to keep him fuller, right? Still and
right.
and not s- spill over, right?
Yeah, and
So
it goes to show
yeah,
how every client's different, and everyone
yeah,
has like different bodies and different anatomies, and
yeah.
yeah, it's quite fun to in that regard of coaching, and that I've opened up the door and the avenue to it. It's been a lot of fun for me, kind of learning the different aspects of things too. So,
I think what makes me mad is like as a coach and I see what I'm giving to my clients, and I'm like, hell, I didn't even get that much food, like ever.
yeah, yeah, I
Like,
know. Literally. No, I was backstage Isaac and I gave him like over 300 grams of sweet potatoes and he was still churning away and still needed more. And I
yeah,
was like, man, this is like, I would, in my dreams, would be eating 300 grams of sweet potatoes. So
yeah,
it's just funny how that works.
yeah,
Matt, I've kind of been dominating this interview. So do
yeah.
you want to say something, brother? I'm sorry, man. I just
No, like you guys have been vibing so well. So like I've been like
kind
I've
of letting it go.
accumulated a few things I wanted to like ask like during it, but I didn't want to like break the flow because everything's been going so smooth. But I want to kind of circle back a little bit because you have a very unique experience in the sense of being able to coach your son and seeing your son go through bodybuilding as well. And I think that's so very cool. So like, how about would you be able to like give us a little bit more of that dynamic and like how did you take it when like Hunter was like, yeah, I really want to compete too. Like I want to
Yeah.
bodybuild too. Like, was that a sense of like pride for you almost, or was it like a I don't know, like if he's gonna like it or not, or like how did that whole situation kind of transpire? Because I think that's so very special.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great question, and yeah, I agree. It's probably I found more joy in coaching him and seeing him do what he's doing in his bodybuilding career than not what I ever did with my own, right? And so yeah, being able to coach him for his first show, yeah, dream come true, right? And be able to step on stage the same day with him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different divisions, but still, it was like how cool is that? And that's one benefit of having a kid at 20 years old, right? Versus
Yeah.
but it was yeah that was it was actually a really good prep. Honestly he's a hard worker just like you guys, and it was actually pretty smooth, and anything I asked of him he just did it, never complained. And we actually were living in the same house at the time. We were both prepping at the same time, so you can imagine how that could be a little iffy, right? And
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
fighting over the kitchen or
oh
whatever it
yeah.
may
Yeah.
be.
Button
And
heads every now and then.
yeah. So, and it wasn't the whole prep because he was still in college. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
he lived with us during the summertime, because well, no, that was the second show, but yeah. So he was home for the summer, and so he came home, and which was nice because I was able to see him in person like every day, right?
Yeah.
So, so I could say, okay, yeah, we need to do this or that or whatever, and so yeah, it was awesome, and um, it was a pretty cool experience for sure. And then the funny thing was that same year, my wife did her first show as well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we all three of us were on that stage at the same
Yeah.
time.
In
Yeah.
case the listener, in case the listeners don't know, because your wife is also an IFBB pro as well. Like the
Yeah.
family is just a
Yep.
family of beasts for
Yeah.
everyone wanting, everyone
Truly.
watching.
She
And
she
go
sorry, go ahead.
ahead. No, sorry, go ahead.
I would say she was a better bodybuilder than I was. And actually, yeah, you're right. She turned pro the year after I did. So she also only did three shows, and she was yeah, just she had and the one thing I will say about her is being like I'm tall for a bodybuilder. She's extremely tall for a woman bodybuilder, right?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
she's 6'1", right? So or just a hair under 6'1", as you can see here, right? So
Yeah. Kind of
Mhm.
um
comparing.
yeah, yeah. So she and this was her first she won Miss Indiana there in 2022. Yeah, it just insane. Like she had way more talent than I did and probably could have done something with it, but as we've seen, WPD, it's like more size, and she's a
Or
taller woman, so it's like
Yeah.
more size, more size. And so she decided, hey, this is not for me. I don't want to continue to keep getting bigger and bigger. So she actually never did a pro show, right? And doesn't intend to. But yeah, she had way more talent. She got to I think 230. She was she was prepping for her first pro show, and that off season she got to 230, still had plenty of lines. It was insane. And I wish that package would have hit stage, but
Mhm.
it never did because she ended up having um, some issues with her former coach and decided to, it just, yeah, things happen.
Yeah.
Um, and she decided, hey, it's just not a good time. And so she pulled out and she decided, hey, just, I'll maybe do another.
Is that me? Oh, this my thing broke. Not my thing. Can you make sure that's on?
Yeah.
Oh, he's back. I was gonna say
I thought,
I can't host this by myself.
Sorry, guys.
I thought it froze. I thought he
Yeah,
froze for a minute. Yeah.
I did freeze.
So,
Sorry about that, y'all.
yeah.
Okay. What did all did I
So,
miss there? Are you
oh,
guys still in the meeting or no?
yeah, Matt asked if we had all three of us had prepped before together, and I was telling him about 2021 when we both, all three of us did prep at the same time, and he was actually asking about the dynamics and how that worked out. And I was like, honestly, it was funny. It went really smooth because we're all on the same page, right?
Mhm.
We all know, like, we're all heads down doing our thing, and believe it or not, it was probably one of the easiest preps because there wasn't any temptations, right? It wasn't like, oh, someone's going out to go have Mexican or someone's going to eat this cookie in front of me or, you know,
Yeah.
and so
Mhm.
All the
we were
distractions
all,
that come along with it, you know?
yeah, we were all in the trenches together. So it actually went, it was pretty smooth, honestly. It was a really good prep. So, and yeah, and she was actually using your coach, Matt Tyler Betson,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, he brought her in just peeled, right? She was just peeled for show, and um, yeah, but she was doing figure. She did figure at that year, and
Okay.
I think she just had a little too much muscle. And funny
Hmm.
thing is, she probably was a little too peeled for figure. So she at that point in time, she actually decided to move into WPD
Hmm.
after that show, but
I
still
think
placed really well though. She got like a top. I think she medaled in all of her divisions. She did novice. She did her open class, and I think she medaled in both of them. So yeah,
that's a, it's just a very cool dynamic because like I come from a family that when I was like, hey, I want to do a bodybuilding show, they're like, what are you talking about? And like
Yeah, same here.
there's not like a
yeah,
lot of I mean my mother is relatively into fitness, but she's like in her
yeah,
60s, so there's not a whole lot going on there. So I
sure.
found I just know that like if my dad would go to the gym with me or my dad was talking to me about bodybuilding, like that would just be the coolest thing ever for
Oh, I'd
me
be giddy. I'd be
for you
giddy,
guys to
dude.
have that
Oh
experience. Like that's just it's so very unique and so very special. I think it's very cool to get to hear about it, kind of learn about your guys' journey, all three of you guys's. And with Hunter still now, I made for the listeners at home too, I made this joke because I saw Brad in the gym last week. I was like, oh dude, I thought you were Hunter when I saw you first walk in. Because they're both just tall and massively jacked. So
Yeah.
like, I think it's so very cool that you guys have gotten to experience that. And then you get to see Hunter continue to progress the way he is because he's an
yeah.
absolute monster of himself.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Like I'm glad that I was able to have this experience as a competitive bodybuilder because I think you asked this question, in the past, and the way I approached bodybuilding and coaching my son with him was very conservative at first, right? Because I wanted to make sure like it was,
Sure.
hey, he's young, you can grow off just food, if your nutrition's on, if your nutrition's there, it's
Mhm.
on point, your training's on point, there's not much you need at that point in time to grow,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And
Hmm.
so I wanted to make sure I kind of set a precedent with him. So in his mind, he knew that, hey, I can, I focus on those things, right? The more important things are just training and nutrition. The other things are just tools, right? So
Sure.
and plus he's my son, right? I want to make sure his health comes first. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was kind of how I approached it with him, and obviously being able to go to the gym and work out with him and do heavy leg days and do just have some crazy training sessions together. That's pretty cool, being a father, right? To be able to experience that with him and still be in good enough shape to do that with him is pretty cool, right? And
Yeah.
even today we still do that, right? We still work out, get some hard sessions in, and but yeah, now I can take a step back and just kind of be a fan and enjoy watching him and him pursue his goals. to become a professional bodybuilder. So it's been cool, a lot of fun.
For you to have been there for him when he was in like that early 20 range and he was wanting to get into it, for you to set that precedent and be like, hey, like you don't need a lot, and like instill like
Hmm.
the right mentality into him, because there's so many young bodybuilders that are in their teens or early 20s that
Yeah.
they don't have that guidance. And
Yeah,
when youth is wasted on the young. So like when you let those young 20 guys that leave them to their devices, a lot of them end up focusing on the wrong things or end up going
yeah,
too deep on the PEDs or whatever it may be.
Yep.
yeah,
So for you to be able to like kind of, watch over him as he got into this journey and set the right mentality for him, I think, and for him to listen too, because when I was in my early 20s, I didn't listen to my dad worth a damn.
right. Yeah.
It took me a little bit longer to kind of get the shit together, but I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's so very cool, and you set him up for so much success now. And then he just got fifth at nationals, wasn't it, or was it fourth?
Six. Yeah.
Sixth. Okay,
Yep.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
at his first national showing at
Yeah.
nationals, no less, which is arguably
Right.
the most competitive show. I mean, I saw him; he looked great. And
Hmm.
Yeah.
he's only 25, and that's so
Yeah.
that's so very cool, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I appreciate that. And it's something definitely, that's always been kind of my mentality with everybody that I coach.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a big believer less is more. If you have everything else on point, um, not to say things don't get escalated at different times, but like,
Of course.
it's like, why go 0 to 60, right? There's so much
Yeah,
benefit on the way to 60 miles per hour, right? So there's so much,
absolutely.
there's so much growth you're missing out if you're just going from 0 to 60. And so
Hmm.
like that's something that it's always been at the I guess at the foundation of my coaching is that, right? And plus health is always going to be top of mind for me, right? For all of my guys. So regular blood work, health, extended health phases, all
Hmm.
that's a big part of my coaching style and always will be. And it may not always align to everybody's goals, and that's fine. I'm not the coach for you then, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of it's been nice to be able to set that precedent with him, and he saw that with me too, because like I
Hmm.
was very open with him about the things I was doing as a competitive bodybuilder, especially as a pro. So he knew all the things I was doing and the things I wouldn't do, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I was very open to him about that, right? Because to me, this was never going to be a career. I'm not that talented to be a C bum or even a top 10 Olympian or even Olympian, right? So I was to me, this was a serious hobby, and I'm gonna approach it like it's a job, but at the same time, longevity was important to me, right? I want to have a long career, but also beyond bodybuilding, I want to be able to be healthy and still be able to go to the gym and work out with my kids, right? So now
Hmm.
I can do that with my younger two kids. They're in the gym now and they're working out, and so I got to go there with them and work out with them. So that's fun. So
My last
Right.
question,
yeah,
have any
yeah.
of the younger two expressed interest in wanting to compete?
Oh.
Because that would be way cool.
So my daughter, no interest whatsoever. So
Fair.
she doesn't want to be big. She doesn't want, she doesn't even care about competing at all. But my middle son, Brody, he has. He's like, hey, he's like, I definitely want to do this. And so he's got the itch for it. And he's never been an athlete. Never, he was in marching band. He very musically talented. Not to toot my own horn or toot his own horn or yeah, maybe I'm a little biased from his dad, but he was he's kind of weird smart. Like he didn't get it from me, but he got like 1500 on his
Damn.
SAT. Yeah, I mean he's
Yeah.
ridiculous. 4.6 GPA.
Wow.
So he's smart. So he just didn't those things didn't really appeal to him. But
Hmm.
then his senior year, going into his senior year, he's like, you know what? I'm tired of kind of looking this way. I kind of want to lose some weight. I'm gonna get in shape and get fit. And of course, he's like, hey, help me out. I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
give you some good guidelines and get a plan going for you. And he literally dropped 60 pounds in about a 6 month time frame.
Wow.
Damn.
And really just transformed his physique. And now he's got the itch, right? He's working out and he's like,
That's so cool.
yeah, I think maybe I want to do this competitive bodybuilding thing. I'm like, we'll see. Like, let's just take it slow.
Like take it nice and easy, ease into it a
Yeah,
little bit, you
he
know.
just turned 18. Let's take it slow.
Sure.
So I think after maybe a year in college, once he gets kind of acclimated to college, then we'll probably look at maybe doing like start kind of down that path of
Yeah.
competing. So yeah,
That is
That's
the
awesome.
coolest damn thing I've ever heard.
yeah,
If you had 4 out of 5 competitors in the household, I think that's so
yeah,
cool.
That is really
yeah.
cool. And
There's a
not to
lot
mention
of
the
there's
work ethic that's in that household as well. Like you guys all are on your P's and Q's with everything, you know? So I think that kind of sets the tone of like just attacking life in that manner, you know? So you can't help but admire it from an outsider's looking in. So
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's cool when everybody's on the same page too. It makes it that much easier, right? We're all eating
yeah.
the same stuff, and so it just,
A lot
you
of
know,
protein in that house.
Oh
oh
yeah.
gosh, jeez, we go through buckets of protein a week. It's insane. I think yeah, I don't even want to know what the Amazon bill looks like, but in the grocery bill, the grocery bill's
Oh,
astronomical,
Oh,
yeah.
I
but
believe it.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
believe it.
yeah, but
Heck yeah. That's awesome, man.
yeah,
Well, I have a couple closing questions for you that I always ask on
sure,
all interviews. They are bodybuilding related, so I want to go ahead and
love
start
it.
first and foremost your favorite three physiques of all time.
Oh man.
Physiques
So,
and bodybuilders. Like it doesn't have to
yeah,
be like Ronnie '05. Like it could just be like Ronnie Coleman,
yeah,
whoever that might
yeah.
be.
I would probably say just because, classic is, kind of came from the golden era, right?
Mhm.
Classic is what's what they were trying to make classic physique is, right? What it is, right? It's based off the golden era. So for
Yep.
me, Arnold, right? I grew up in the,
Yep.
I was born in 81. Um, in the late 80s, I can remember watching all the Arnold movies, right? He'd already retired, I think he had his last Olympia win in like 80. So I wasn't even born yet. But so my dad was a big fan of Arnold. He watched all of his movies, Predator and Terminator and all that. So Arnold is probably because I'm a classic guy, Arnold's probably my number one, right? He's the epitome of classic, right?
Yeah.
Um, that golden era classic, right? So I'd say he's probably in my top three. Um, the easy answer is to say, C-Bomb, right?
Yep. Steve
C-Bomb he's phenomenal. I call him the GOAT in classic for sure.
without a doubt.
Um, but from open bodybuilder perspective, Ronnie was at his peak when I was starting bodybuilding. So
Mhm.
I had to choose Ronnie. Like Ronnie
Yeah.
So cool.
he's phenomenal. It just freak, right? Just crazy size and conditioning. He was just amazing. And
I couldn't
probably
imagine
close.
watching him in like in his prime actively competing. Like that's got to be a lot of fun. That era had to be pretty
Oh,
sick.
insane. Like yeah, that was just something that I didn't get to really experience. I didn't really follow bodybuilding that closely when like, like Dorian Yates and
Yeah.
those guys, right? So
Right.
I didn't really watch him, but Ronnie was definitely one of the first guys that I started to watch, or follow in the
Mhm.
bodybuilding world. And then of course, like Phil Heath. I mean, Phil Heath is up there too,
Crazy.
but
Yeah. Crazy
yeah,
physique.
insane. But yeah, those are probably my top three, four guys. So
Nice.
Back in the day, like at Ronnie's time, you couldn't watch them. You had to get DVDs or
Yeah.
magazines.
That's a
exactly.
good
So
point. That's
Yeah.
a good
yeah,
point.
Yeah.
Battle for the Olympia, like the
Flex
VHSs
magazine
and
or
shit. Oh yeah, that's old school. I
yeah.
love it.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yep.
And then
So
this last question is kind of a two-parter, but it's more or less your top three or five, whichever you feel more comfortable with, for the open and the classic physique division of this year's Olympia. Who you going with?
oh shoot, I don't know if I can even try to think. So top five in open, I would say Samson, Andrew, Derek, not in any particular order.
Okay, okay. I was about to
Derek,
ask you. I didn't know
yeah,
if you
yeah,
were
yeah.
leaning towards Samson there. You about to say you got now
No,
got Matt real upset over there. He's not a Samson guy.
no, I don't. I would say I would put Samson first. I still probably think Derek is going to be the top guy to
Yeah,
compete with. Um, I would probably put then Samson in there, yeah, probably second. Third, man, I don't know. That's a hard one. I mean, Andrew's been looking crazy, and he's actually brought in some better conditioning as of late. So
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah,
That's his only. I think that's his issue, right? Is if he can come in condition, I think he'll be very
yeah,
competitive. Now Nick is, looks like he may be throwing his hat in there now
yeah.
too.
I
So
think he'll get his qualification here in
yeah,
Tampa a few weeks. So
yeah, I think he will too. So if Nick's if Nick is in the running
Yeah.
for it, he could definitely squeak into that top three for sure.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know who else. Shoot, what's his name? He just competed this past weekend in Italy.
Jordan Hutchinson.
Jordan Huss, yeah, I
Yeah,
love his
yeah,
physique, man. He looks
yeah.
great. I think he was maybe off a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like he was holding a film of
Yeah,
water. We were talking on the
yeah,
last cast that like it look,
yeah,
maybe it was travel, travel related.
yeah,
Especially being a guy that's never been overseas and now he's competing over there. I think that, and he had like an Airbnb with no AC,
yeah,
like a whole bunch of things. So
yeah.
I'm sure that
And
all compiled to that.
Antonio, he looks phenomenal too. He looks crazy,
Yeah,
man. And he's a 212 guy, and he blew up. I
blew
mean,
up like
I
crazy.
think
big
they say he
time.
put up like 10 pounds of muscle on from the last time he was on stage, or
Yeah,
it's something insane. But
it's
yeah,
wicked.
yeah. So
Nice,
classic physique, Ramon, um, obviously, it's been
Mike.
a long day.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're all
Mike,
good, Mike
yeah,
Summerfeld.
It
Yep.
has.
Mike Sommerfield for sure. Uh, I like
Is it Wesley?
I love Wesley Vissers. Like he
Yeah.
was actually the first classic guy I started following because he's a tall guy like me. I love
Hmm.
his physique. I don't know if he'll pull a top three or even a top five. I think he could definitely squeak in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Mike Sommerfield, yeah, Wesley, Ramon, put Wesley at five. I'm gonna throw it out there.
Yeah, I like
Uh,
it.
yeah, Niall,
Now Darwin.
yeah,
Yeah, I
Niall
think he'll
Darwin.
make a big jump this year.
He's insane. Yeah, yeah. So those are probably my top guys for sure for
Awesome.
classic. Yeah,
Good
yeah.
deal. Well, as always, man, I greatly appreciate you making the time, Brad. We definitely got to get you back on another cast if you're willing to. Maybe we get closer to Olympia. We'll go through some predictions again. But yeah, I want to thank you so much for coming on the cast and telling us a little bit about yourself. And you do have a peptide like that you're affiliated with. Do you want to go ahead and shout that out real quick and maybe give the code that you have and
Yeah, yeah. So PC Peptides. So they are a peptide company I started repping probably 3 or 4 months ago. The funny thing is that the owner of the company actually is an arm wrestler, and he actually hosts our practice. His name is Mike Hitt, and Mike, phenomenal guy. Him and his wife decided to start this peptide business back in like February
Mhm.
this year, and just great people, great family. And they wanted to kind of, they were interested in starting something that, quality peptides or US based, right? So they wanted to bring something like a little more quality, right, to the
Yeah.
pep because peptides is the new craze right now, and so they were like, you know what, we definitely definitely want to get into this world and start
Hmm.
our own business and see what happens, and but quality was always top of mind,
Yeah,
right? So
definitely.
that's one thing I love about this company, all locally sourced, all third party tested, right? So you know what you're getting. I use all the peptides myself. Obviously, I already mentioned the BPC, TB500, but yeah,
Hmm.
a lot of their product, they have a great product line. Yeah, my code is Brad20. You get 20% off right now during the 4th of July week. Brad30 gets you 30% off.
Nice.
So yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Good, I guess. Yeah. All right. I'm just gonna do the closing
Yeah.
segment here. Thank you guys so
Yeah.
much for watching the cast. If you want to go ahead, drop a like, comment, and share. And as always, we keep working. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys. All
Awesome.
right,
Thanks,
Thanks for
Brad.
coming,
take
Brad.
care.
Appreciate
We
you, brother.
appreciate
All right,
you.
bye.
See ya.
Later.